We just saw complete domination from co-main event to the very main event at UFC 253. What's up? Fred Richani, TSC, your home for MMA news updates, interviews, and everything in between. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I watched a whole lot of MMA today, but man, the precision, the accuracy, the absolute skill, the power that we saw in tonight's main events was absolutely badass. We have a new UFC light heavyweight champion, but it ain't Dominic Reyes. No. It is the man, Polish power himself, Jan Blachowicz. He knocked out Dominic Reyes in round number 2, busted up his nose, got the win, dominated round number 1 as well, was just overall landing with more volume, battered his body with kicks, battered his legs with kicks, and main event, very similar, only difference is there wasn't an upset. It was complete domination by Israel Adesanya. Paulo Costa, flat-footed, not throwing combinations, not being his usual aggressive self. Now, granted, he's been out of the cage for over a year. It's been a long time. I mean, he did fight Yoel Romero in that great fight, but he put on a performance that would make even Vitor Belfort shake his head in title fights. And I'm not trying to throw shade here because I'm not a fighter, but man, if you're somebody that bought this pay-per-view hoping for a top 5 all-time middleweight title fight, you're going to feel like you were sold a bill of goods, because Israel Adesanya, I don't want to take anything from Izzy. He was unbelievable. Let's get to the good stuff first. Israel Adesanya was unbelievable. He chopped down Paulo Costa with vicious leg kicks, the lead leg, inside, body kicks. He threw combinations when necessary, but for the most part was just chopping him down via the body and the legs. And Paulo Costa was just, I don't know, I think he threw like maybe 8 or 9 strikes in round number 1. I mean, just very flat-footed, and he was taunting, and he was sticking out his tongue, and he was acting all cute and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, nothing against taunting. I'm a pro wrestling fan. I like some taunting, but you got to also do some work, dude. So we get to round number 2. I'm thinking, okay, Paulo's going to be a little more aggressive here. He's just trying to conserve his energy. But Izzy just keeps pouring it on. At one point, he hit a head kick on Costa. Costa somehow ate it. But then he got hit with a vicious combination, down on the ground, face down. Izzy just kept tagging him. Costa curled up, and that was that. Izzy was just the more precise striker. Obviously, more powerful tonight. You know, Costa's obviously got power and a lot of raw talent. And look, he was the number 1 ranked guy for a reason. I mean, technically number 2, but, you know, the number 1 contender for a reason. He was undefeated for a reason, but he just did. It's a combination of Izzy being absolutely unbelievable and psyching him out physically and mentally. And it's also a combination of Costa just not being aggressive. Now, look, the result may have probably been the same if Costa was aggressive. Let's keep it real here. Izzy's been in some trouble before. He's also got a kickboxing background. I mean, the guy was almost finished against Kelvin Gastelum. He's shown that he's got balls of steel and that he could dig deep and come through. All right, all these people talking crap about him, say he's no hard or front runner. Like, you guys are idiots. You don't know what you're talking about. This guy has shown in the past that he clearly can go into deep water and has heart. But Paulo Costa, man, maybe he did show up and he just got destroyed. I don't know. But look, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I'm not going to be one of those people that takes away credit from the dominant athlete like LeBron and all these guys. First of all, shout out to LeBron. Lakers going to the finals again for the first time in 10 years. But congrats to Izzy. Masterful performance. All I got to say is this. If this is a sign of what's to come in the middleweight division, I don't see Izzy losing for a long time. I mean, who does he face next? I mean, who? Maybe down the road a rematch with Whitaker, Cannonier. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. He looked phenomenal, and at 20-0, he talked about it in the post-fight interview how he wants to continue like the legacy that Anderson Silva left behind and kind of bring it to another level. And my God, this dude is absolutely bringing it to another level. So much respect to Israel Adesanya. What can I say other than complete domination? Jan Blachowicz, complete domination as well. Dominic Reyes, to me, that one might have been more disappointing because he fought John Jones, I believe, earlier this year. Right? If I'm not mistaken, it was earlier this year. It feels like I've aged 5 to 10 years during this pandemic, but I'm pretty sure he fought John Jones earlier this year. And he damn near beat John Jones earlier this year. And I know MMA math is completely nonsensical and makes no sense, but Dominic Reyes, I think I'm more surprised by Costa, who's been out of the cage for a long time. His first big fight. This is the second big fight of Dominic Reyes' career. I think he also was in a main event with Weidman at one point. And yeah, he was just there. I mean, he was not really all that active at all. And I don't know if the moment got to him. I don't know if he was hurt. I mean, obviously you got to give credit to Blachowicz as well, but yeah, very surprising there. I thought it would be a way closer fight. I thought it would be a physical fight. I don't know if it'd make it out of the second or third round, but I thought he at least put up more of a fight than he did. And, you know, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but you did hear a lot in interviews where Dominic Reyes says he feels like he's the uncrowned champion. And that's great to say for marketing purposes, to build up your fan base, to make more money. And it's good. I guess it's good to believe to some extent, but, you know, there's probably a fine line between believing you're the uncrowned champion and as good as the actual champion and believing your own hype a little too much. And I don't know if Dominic Reyes fell into that trap or not, but what a great story. Jan Blachowicz, 37 years old. I mean, this dude's been around forever. I mean, at one point he was like 1-4 his last 5 fights, and he just did an unbelievable freaking job to become the 37-year-old champion. I mean, it's just, yeah, 1-4. At one point in April 8th, 2017, he was 1-4 his last 5 fights after he dropped a majority decision loss to, remember this guy? Patrick Cummins. So imagine telling somebody in 2017, after this guy lost to Patrick Cummins, that he would become the light heavyweight champion. And no shade here. He worked his way up, did his thing, big wins. I mean, Corey Anderson, that fight was huge for him. Knocked him out, called out John Jones. Corey Anderson's now in Bellator and going to be a top contender. You know, beat Jacare. I mean, of course, he beat Rockhold. Yeah, I'm super happy for Jan. So what can I say? I think from an action standpoint, as far as just finishes, decisive finishes, the 2 main events delivered. From a classic fight perspective where, oh my God, I'm so glad I ordered this fight because this is a fight I'm never going to forget for the rest of my life. Not so much. And quite frankly, this was really a 2-fight show because we did have a few other decent fights, but really in terms of name value, a 2-fight show. So Brandon Royval, he at flyweight, he defeated Kai Kara-France via guillotine choke in round number 2. This was a great fight. This was actually really good. Again, not two guys that most people are going to know, but a really good fight. And Brandon Royval, I think, is definitely going to be moving up the rankings there. Ketlin Vieja, easy for me to say, defeated Sijara Eubanks via unanimous decision. Pretty good fight there at women's bantamweight. We had a catchweight bout. Hakeem Dawodu defeated Zubaira Tukhugov via split decision. Zubaira is the teammate of Khabib Nurmagomedov, but he missed weight going into this fight, and he really wasn't fighting all that much. And Hakeem was taunting him, and the referee said, "Don't curse," as these guys are trying to put themselves out unconscious. I didn't know Karen was refereeing tonight. But Hakeem got the win. 5th straight fight. He talked about looking to put Canada on his back and make some noise. So I'm excited to see what happens next, man. I saw some odds makers not picking him. He's a damn good fighter. He's a rising prospect. I like what I'm seeing so far. Again, 5 straight fights. At lightweight on the prelims, Brad Liddell defeated Alex De Silva Coelho via unanimous decision. At welterweight, Jake Matthews, this is kind of a sad fight, pretty much dominated Diego Sanchez via unanimous decision, 30-26 across the board. Diego Sanchez, once every few fights, has these flashes where you're like, oh my God, Diego Sanchez is back. But then he has fights like this where you remember this dude has been fighting for over 15 years and probably shouldn't be fighting anymore. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Ludovic Klein defeated Shane Young via knockout, vicious head kick and punches in round number 1. This was also a catchweight about 150 pounds. Light heavyweights, we had William Knight defeat Alexa Kamur via unanimous decision. On the prelim card, the early prelim card, we also had Juan Espino Diepa defeat Jeff Hughes, huge, via scarf hold, although, you know, they're both huge, they're heavyweights. And Daniil Marquez defeated Kadis Ibragimov via unanimous decision. I think I got all that right. So yeah, prelims are relatively entertaining. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I watched a lot of MMA. Earlier in the day, I covered Bellator's Milan show virtually all day. Prelims are really good. Main card left a little bit to be desired. But If you want to watch highlights and post-fight interviews from that entire card, that's all on this YouTube channel right now, so please feel free to subscribe there and check that out. But as for what we got going on coming up down the road, well, next week we got Holly Holm taking on Irene Aldana, with the co-main event being Jermaine Durandamy against Juliana Pena. So those should be two pretty good fights there. As far as other notable fights, because there's a lot of people here that you could barely find on Wiki or Sherdog. Carlos Condit coming back to fight Court McGee. Been rough times for Carlos Condit, man. I feel like that dude, ever since he fought Robbie Lawler, both men have never been the same after that fight. And he's lost 5 straight, and he wants to avoid the dubious distinction of losing 6 straight fights. So we will see what happens there. The old Carlos Condit would wax him, but we'll see. After that, we have Marlon Moraes against Corey Sandhagen and Ben Rothwell against Marcin Tybura. Those should be some pretty good fights there, especially the main event. And then October 18th, the fight I'm personally most looking forward to. Brian Ortega coming back for the first time since his loss to Max Holloway, taking on Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. There was some beef with them and Jay Park months back, and Ortega apparently slapped Jay Park, and that's Korean Zombie's boy. And, well, they will finally fight coming up soon, October 18th. By the way, all those are going to be taking place in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. And then we have UFC 254. This will be a good one. Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on Justin Gaethje. That should be one hell of a fight to determine the undisputed lightweight champion. Gaethje can wrestle too. So we will see what happens there. The full card was actually announced here. I got it right here in front of me. Robert Whittaker's fighting Jared Cannonier, so that could determine the next number 1 contender. Izzy even mentioned that. Alexander Volkov against Walt Harris. That could be a good fight. Islam Makhachev against Rafael Dos Anjos. Cynthia Calvillo against Lauren Murphy. And Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Kutaleba at light heavyweight. That's actually a 6-fight main card, and it's taking place 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Special start time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That's taking place a little less than a month, October 24th. And then from there, we have, I believe it's rumored that Anderson Silva is supposed to be fighting Uriah Hall. I think actually that was confirmed. And, barring obviously COVID and any other setbacks, that's going to take place October 31st, 2020. But let's go to some of the comments here. Greg Gothard says, that was something. Daniel D says, beautiful KO by the last style bender. Yeah, that was fantastic. Mela Jarek says, who said Costa won? LOL. Yeah. Look, a lot of people were picking Costa. A lot of people were picking him. My dad's not an MMA expert. He's a 61-year-old man that just likes to watch fights. But he was like, yeah, I like that Costa guy. If he loses, I'll buy you dinner. So, Dad, you owe me dinner. Sean Corey Wood says, tell me the style bender worked him over. Dude, he worked him over and then some, just demolished that poor dude. I mean, just two different levels here. 2 different levels to this game. Maybe 3 or 4 different levels. Man, just brutal. Stylebender's on his way to being the GOAT. I think so. One of the GOATs at least. I mean, you got to put respect on his name. And I'm not going to totally hate on Costa for talking crap, because at the end of the day, Izzy did too, and it's fine. I love trash talk. It's part of the game. If you want to hype a fight and trash talk, that's fine. Just don't be a racist. But, what Dana White determines as racist and I do are, I guess, 2 different things. But either way, I do understand you have to walk a line, and sometimes, you want to be a little charismatic. You want to let a little loose. You want to get in somebody's face. That's all good. Even during a fight. I mean, Paulo Costa, I should note, at one point had his hands behind his back, pulled the old Eddie Alvarez versus Conor McGregor trick. And that's cool and all when you're Anderson Silva in his prime. That's cool and all when you're Izzy Adesanya or Anderson Silva or Conor McGregor, but not when you're Paulo Costa, who, realistically speaking, still has a lot to prove. Who didn't do anything in this damn fight. So, what can I say? We're going to learn a lot from Dominic Reyes and Paulo Costa over this next year or so. Can these 2 dudes that were previously undefeated, heavily hyped, talked a lot of junk, will they be able to come back, bounce back, get back into title contention, and dare I say, one day call themselves the world champion? We shall see. But I'll tell you this, anybody that lost tonight, especially the challengers to the title, y'all got to look at Jan Blachowicz, 37 years old, at one time 1-4 his last 5 UFC fights, and 3 short years later, 3.5 years later, now the undisputed world champion. Although I think Vadim Nemkov and Bellator might have something to say about that. Still, overall, I gotta say, a very eventful show. Not a great show when it comes to quote-unquote great fights, but if you're an Adesanya fan, if you're a Polish MMA fan, Polish power fan, you're going home happy tonight. But folks, I want to hear from you. What do you think about Izzy and Jan? Where do you think all the winners and losers go from here? Let me know. Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this recap, like, share. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more updates. I can barely talk because I'm so excited here. Again, check out all our post-fight coverage of UFC 253, including some Izzy and Paulo Costa trash talk we uploaded earlier this week. Plus, Bellator Milan. We also got a few Bellator cards coming up, including James Gallagher, the teammate of Conor McGregor. We'll be covering that, so stay tuned. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the fights.